It is the Wednesday edition of the Black and White Show with Brian Rundle and Lana
Right?
Quest. Yeah. Normally we do Tuesdays, but I hope anybody that's subscribed knows that we had pushed the show to a week because I just came back from vacation. Lana and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Came back from Vegas and not exactly.
And he won't tell me what he did. He said he keeps telling me what's done in Vegas stays in Vegas.
You think I'm going to break the rule on on YouTube? I'm not going to break the Vegas rule on YouTube.
I tried, everyone.
Yeah, especially after that emergency thing went off on all our phones today. You know, the government's watching.
Oh
and
my
if we
goodness,
say
that scared me too. Like they mentioned it on the news,
yeah,
and I was like, remember, and I'm at work. Thing was like,
me too.
Oh my god, it was so yeah.
Yep, I think there's one thing all of us can relate with this that scared the shit out of all of us. Yeah.
Everyone.
Came a little early and it was scary. I don't have you seen the conspiracy theories rolling around that? Yeah, that you should shut your phone off during that time because if you don't, it does. It's stupid.
They could track us anyway. Like they just can. That's where we're at. Like
no.
PS conspiracy theories, you don't have to worry about them putting chips in you. It doesn't matter. Like you have a phone. It doesn't matter. Correct. It's pinging off of the towers that we have to use at this point. No one's using landlines. Like they got you. Like they just do.
Well, I'd also suggest maybe consider living a life where you're not worried about the government tracking you.
That too, right? Because what do they care about us? Like for real, like, hey, what are you doing in that kitchen with that bowl of cereal? Like, what do they care?
They don't. It's like I said, it's a big clown show, but we are back live. Speaking of clown shows,
I knew it was great.
Perfect segue. Yeah. There's so many, clown show doors to open here, but I guess we'll start with the first one with the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has been ousted from his position at Speaker, and mainly because he sided with the Democrats to not shut down the government.
Right.
And I think as we talked, I think it might have been last week, Matt Gaetz is not very thrilled with the fact that the impeachment inquiries are not going, as heavily as they wanted to. It's funny because I was in Vegas the whole week. So in Vegas, I'm tuned out for the most part, but I still see what's going on. And I saw the hearings last week about the so-called Biden impeachment. And I don't know how you don't walk out of there being a Republican, not just completely embarrassed.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did it? What was that?
Well, I think unfortunately the people who didn't see it is probably the ones who need to see it. But it was just a bunch of, as Joe Biden would call it, malarkey. It was, there's zero proof of Joe Biden doing anything. Nobody had any proof. The people that were there that were being, that were testifying basically said, nope, we got nothing.
The people, say that part again. The people that they brought in to testify, who, by the way, were not fact witnesses. So
right.
They were nobody.
Correct.
They didn't have to swear. They weren't under oath. Nothing. They didn't even have to tell the truth because they weren't under oath, but still said the witnesses, we ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
Imagine that. They weren't even under oath, but they're like, well, we don't have anything.
And that's why, like I said, in this day and age where we're just forgiving and letting slide this ridiculousness. If this happened in any normal times, it would be talked about for months. But there's so much crazy stuff going on that you talk about it for about a half hour, then something completely takes that over, and then something's going to take whatever we're talking about over. Hell, like I said, last week, that whole impeachment thing would have been something that had been talked about for months. We'd be talking about it right now, but so much shit has happened since then.
But can they? because there was not like there's literally nothing else to talk about unless we're gonna keep replaying, lawmaker Crockett and the rest of them like just dragging the
She was, and I had her clip too. And,
yeah,
like I said, since we were moving on to something, she's phenomenal.
like all I mean the and even AOC is like, yo, this is not even the document. Like, what is this?
Yep.
Isn't the full document? Here is the full document. I mean, they had documents enlarged. They had Twitter accounts enlarged. Like,
yeah,
what are y'all doing right now? Like that. What I doubt if they have another hearing. Like, what else are they going to do? Like,
correct.
It's done. They're done.
They were fully prepared, but it sounds like a compliment to the Democrats, but it's like being fully prepared to argue with a 4-year-old.
Sorry.
Oh, is that your phone?
Yeah,
Lana's blowing up.
They're going to be like, you don't have a show tonight. Like, why do you always have
right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're like, you're not Wednesday night. What is this?
Right? This is not Tuesday or Thursday.
By the way, we are having a shortened show tonight. Lana's got some stuff to do, and I just got back from Vegas, so of course, I'm on an airplane where everybody around me was coughing. The lady sitting next to me was coughing, hacking. Like, this is disgusting, and I just want to get home. But anyway, let's get back to Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, sorry.
Kevin McCarthy was ousted by his own party, but you'll never guess who he blamed.
Obama. No, I'm just kidding.
Obama. The Democrats. I mean, it's so good. I don't know if they're just programmed to do this anymore or if this is just a natural reaction, but blaming the Democrats for what your party did to you, the Democrats would have been just fine with you being speaker they're not fine with you being speaker because you're just a terrible human being and a terrible speaker, but they don't care whether you're there or not because they understand the rules. They understand that the House is now controlled by the Republicans, and then whoever the Republicans vote in as speaker is the one who gets to be speaker. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. They made this move, and
why are you depending on the Democrats? Like, why would you ever depend on Democrats to keep you in? They wouldn't depend on you. Your people are divided, not the Democrats were fully on board with one another. So kudos to the strength of the Democrats, because if they were to cave, people would have been pissed at Democrats, because what we need them to do is to fight. And that's all we want to see, whatever the cost. We will sacrifice it all to see them fight the Republicans, and that's what they did. So,
well, they have a reputation too of being a weaker party, but I think you can see that over the years they have strengthened more and more. And I'm not talking about just as a party together. I mean, they're fighting back, and they're fighting back hard. But let's listen to Kevin McCarthy. Not only did he blame the Democrats about him being removed as speaker, he also had this to say about January 6th.
No, but do I regret the Democrats playing games with January 6th? Yes. They played so many politics. What they did to this institution and what they did to this building was so wrong. The idea that they put magnetometers there, the idea that they would go to any Republican member that they had been co-sponsors of bills and they no longer could be a co-sponsor, that they would fine members $5,000 if the magnetometers went on, but when Nancy went around it or Clyburn was supposed to get a fine, it all got waived. The idea that bills didn't have to go through committee, the idea is they created a select committee on January 6th and they wouldn't let the minority appoint who to do it. Look, I'm trying to change all that and bring the body back to they can work together. But I think they did a lot of damage to us. Yes, sir.
Man, I'll tell you, you are ousted by your own party, and you go on a rant about the Democrats, not just it being unfair because of the Democrats, but January 6th, he is upset about what Democrats did during January 6th. And see, this is to your point, Lon. This is exactly why the Democrats wouldn't trust Kevin McCarthy.
Right. Can't trust
he's an insurrection sympathizer.
Yeah, you cannot trust any of them.
Yeah. I mean, hey, and that's what happens. Now we are talking about how the Republicans are, they're fighting with each other. But there are some people on the Republican side, particularly some of the Fox and Friends, who were speaking about this whole thing. This is we're going to play a clip of Steve Doocy and Brian Kilmeade talking about this, and they have some concerns about the what's going on in the Republican Party, and this is what they had to say.
The Wall Street Journal writes on their op-ed, the lead op-ed is Republicans cut off their heads regarding, and these are the Republicans who voted. Andy Biggs is one of them. The Wall Street Journal writes, Mr. Biggs argued on the floor that the House hadn't passed the 12 annual spending bills on time, but that's because of demands from members like him. He and Mr. Gates offered mainly a list of grievances and supposedly failed promises that had no chance of being realized as Congress. The real motive looks to be spite, personal and political, and the result is to sow chaos in their own ranks. And to that, they certainly did, because now.
Real quick, the guy up in the upper right, Crane, they couldn't find this guy with the suit on. They're mad at John Fetterman, but this guy's just wearing a hat. I don't know who he is.
And it looks like a T-shirt, but
yeah. Let's hear off Brian Kilmeade what he had to say.
Now the House that has a slim Republican majority looks like they can't govern.
They have a strong case when you go to these swing districts and say, look, you saw the chaos in the House. You got to put a Democrat in charge. Give Hakeem Jeffries the gavel.
Yeah, that's true in a way. I mean, you're showing these House races that are going to come down, and they're going to look back and go, God, these people are maybe crazy. Do we really want to keep them in?
No, they haven't done a damn thing since they've been there but lie. The only thing they've passed is nothing. It's
Correct.
like they just sign off on the things that Democrats are like, hey, let's do some bipartisan stuff here. Let's go. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, come on. Oh, my God. It's so awful. Like, it's just a disgusting. It's just gross, man. Like, they just don't care about anything, and it's hard to believe and wrap your head around, like, these people really don't care.
Yeah,
like that man, whatever the pro temporo, whoever he is, the one that slammed the gavel down, is just all of the pissed off and locked the doors to Nancy's office and said, you can't get in here because I'm kicking you out because I'm just that petty, because I don't care about kitchen table issues. What are those?
Yeah. Well, to your point too, I mean, it's the Republicans who have complained about inflation. They've complained about, even they would say, gosh, there might be an issue with children being shot up. It is now their turn to present legislation that would help inflation, that if they think that they knew exactly what would control inflation, other than just saying the typical stop the spending, what is their plan? They have no plan. They never had a plan. And we've discussed this a million times. Their plan is to sow seeds of doubt in the heads of certain American people into making them think that they are their savior. Lana, I'm in this little group text, and I do know some Trump people, and it's almost cathartic for me to do it, because I can use them as a punching bag, because I can say whatever I want. And if you've seen half of these texts, we might get arrested if some of the things we say to each other. We're still friends, but I still hear all the time these idiots keep talking about the border, like it's their number one issue. And I ask them every time, I'd say, seriously, and I'm asking seriously, name one time an illegal immigrant. Now, by the way, when I say this, I'm not saying that the border is not an issue. The border has been an issue for decades.
Yeah.
And it's not Joe Biden's fault, and Donald Trump can't stop anybody. But name one time an illegal immigrant has affected you or your family's life. One.
Right.
No, you can't. You can probably, I know people that say the same thing, where you could say that prescription drug cost definitely affect your life. I'm sure you have children. You may be afraid that one day somebody's going to come in and shoot up your kid. But the border is the first fucking thing you're going to bring up to me. I'm just so sick of that.
It's like, it's because the Republicans keep saying it. So
You're right.
they keep saying it. And that's a valid question. Like, how's it impacting you? And to be honest with you, the border has been a problem for decades under Republican presidents and under Democratic presidents.
Yeah.
So obviously it's something that it's bigger than the president. And no one just wants to be real. It's a problem that the only thing that we're going to be able to do is try to make it less, but we're not going to stop it. It can't stop. They're not going to stop coming until we fix the internal issues that their countries are having, and we're not going to do that. So we put money into the border to get more border patrol, but Republicans voted against that.
Right. Yeah, because it's not their idea or it's not their plan, and they can't have any Joe Biden can't be seen as the border guy. He can't be seen as the guy that is patrolling the border, so they can't have that. It's got to be only if Donald Trump said it. And again, the wall is not going to stop anything. And I think at the end of the day, where people are really getting confused about the border is that they're suckered into thinking that it is just a bunch of Mexican gang members who are at the border looking to come in. And that's just not true. It's a very low percentage of most of the people coming in are fleeing rape with their women bringing their children and
desperate.
So, and I think that's where the human element and where the Democrats come in and go, look, we know it's a problem, but we're not interested in hurting these people. We're not interested in just killing them like some of them.
Separating them from their
separating them.
children.
We're not interested in doing that. There's got to be a more humane way. So that's just,
and if they want it, I'm sorry, but the this fucking bigger picture is if Republicans really cared, they would go to Democrats and say, hey, let's sit down and at least talk about this. They don't do that, but then they call Democrats divisive. But they don't want to work with Democrats. And the minute Democrats are like, no, we're not helping you out of this, they're like, oh, it's your fault. But we literally helped you out of the government being shut down because you know what? We actually work for Americans.
Right. Correct. And I think that has shifted, obviously, when Donald Trump took office, because there certainly were times where Democrats and Republicans worked together for the betterment of the country and for the betterment of the people. But now it's at a point where the Republican side has gotten so insanely nuts that like you said, they won't work with Democrats because it gives them political points. And then on the flip side, you'll have a lot of people say, well, Democrats won't work with Republicans. And if that is true, and there might be some part of it that is, part of it is because you're fucking crazy now. There's nothing to work with. What is it that you want me to be on board with you fucking morons?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you another, if you remember the
oh my God.
former White House press secretary, Ari Fleischer, he, former Republican, he also too had some things to say about the current state of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Keep in mind, this is coming from another Republican.
The Republican Party today just can't govern. Nancy Pelosi, with a 5-vote majority, she was able to govern. The Democrats have become the party of discipline, and the Republicans have become the party that lacks discipline.
And all of the MAGA wee nuts just turned the channel on him.
No question. They're mad, and now Ari Fleischer is just another rhino. And he's not on board with the whole thing. And, but again, if maybe a few people listen to that, that's where it takes, because Fox News isn't only watched by Republicans. In fact, there's a study that has been shown that there's a lot of Democrats that watch it, and they watch it, just because they want to hear the craziness and hear what's going on. I remember there's a movie Howard Stern did about his life, and there was a line in the movie where they were asking people, or they were talking about the ratings to a show, and they were like, why do people listen to him? They say the main reason everybody gave was they wanted to hear what he had to say next. And then they were talking about the people who hate Howard Stern listened more, and they were like, well, why? And they were the same thing. They just want to hear what he has to say next. And it's kind of the same thing. They want to hear what they have to say next. I personally can't stand it, and I can't, I can watch the clips. I can't sit there and watch more than 5 minutes of Fox News. Can you?
Awful. No,
yeah.
It would be like back in the day, you kind of could, because they kind of told the news. Of course, it's it swung conservative, but they didn't out and out lie. Now It's just like they just lie.
Yeah, like, now they're not even hiding it.
Yes, it's racist. They lie.
Yep.
It's just it's that thing. They show all Black people riots, and it's just an awful. It's awful.
I notice another thing that they're doing a lot, because when I go to the gym, they have like 5 TVs up there. One's on CNN, one's on Fox News, one's on ESPN, so they kind of split it up. Although in public settings anymore, I don't think they should put any news on, just because it's so divisive now, and just people lose their minds. And but I walk by and I can see they're showing a lot of times during these professional football games, the NFL games, that there are these like awful fights in the stands. But every time they show it, it's in San Diego. They want to make sure that they showed it's in California to make it look like this only goes down in California. I guarantee you, I can go to any football stadium in Texas, here in the state of Florida, Georgia. I can promise you there are drunken fights in every football stadium across the country.
Right. Of course.
But it's like you just said, they show the Black riots. They show, all that stuff to make it
Black crime. Like,
yeah.
Like there's no white on white. Like that's how ridiculous it is. Like, what is the other crime? If it's like it's Black and Black is the only crime, it's proximity.
Correct.
Like who you're closest to.
Right. And if crime is happening at the alarming rate that they say, I promise you it's not only people of color. I promise.
Exactly. Like who's committing all the crime in Arkansas or wherever, Boise, Idaho? Crime there.
Well, there's another thing that people say that just makes me so mad when I keep hearing it. So when they talk about George Floyd, or they talk about any riots that may happen during these protests, they're calling them Black Lives Matter riots. Right. Now, I don't know. And unless somebody can prove to me, I'm not necessarily sure that the people who are rioting are necessarily registered Democrats. Or
registered at all.
Registered at all.
Don't even care about politics.
Correct.
Just there.
But we're going to associate it with the Democrats. We're going to associate it with Black Lives Matter. We're going to associate it because it's easy. It's easy to do because there's not a lot of pushback on it. Yeah. And then when you see it with your eyes, people don't take into account. Like I said, I'm near positive most people who commit crimes in that manner maybe don't really give a shit who the president is.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I my guess, they had the idea that if Joe Biden's president, that's the kind of stuff that happens in the country. Yeah. But if Donald Trump was president, that shit wouldn't happen. And obviously, it happened quite often under Donald Trump's presidency. No. Well, not but often enough to where it's like you're not stopping anything. You're not stopping any crime that somebody wants to commit, but to associate it with an entire race of people or to an entire movement or
a party.
It's
like, the military, someone's in the military writing a poem. It's the Democrats' problem. Right. Like, who said it? Republicans don't write poems? I'm so confused about it. Here you got Bobart at Beetlejuice. So obviously you guys like plays.
She likes the arts, and Chris Christie's a big Bruce Springsteen fan. I mean, so these guys are into it too, but again, it's the language they have to use to make that sucker machine continue to run, and they can sucker people into thinking that the immigrants are coming to get you, that Antifa is a real thing. That I've never seen Antifa in my life. I guarantee you. In fact, I know I have worked in the same company right down the street from somebody that attacked the Capitol and now sitting in jail because of it. Wow. So, there's more of those people, I guarantee you, that are around us than Antifa. So, but anyway, let's move on to Donald Trump. So I'm actually looking forward to a point where we're no longer talking about this guy. I'm sure it's going to be a long time, but he still dominates the news. And he is in a New York court right now in a case that a lot of people really don't understand, that he's already lost. Right. That the trial that's going on now is basically going to figure out exactly how much he is going to be hurt by damages. And he does not seem like he's having a good time. I know his whole thought process is to win the case of public opinion. But when you're in a real court, the judge, the jury, except in this case, there is no jury, and we'll go over that in a second. But the judge, the jury, and all that doesn't give a shit about your little press conferences outside the courthouse. Right. So I was in Vegas all week, and I know a lot of this was taking place, and I've been able to keep up on it a little bit. What have you seen on this case that is making us both laugh and smile?
Well, I mean, I don't even know where to start. It's interesting that he's there, right? So he went there the second day that he showed up, because he does not have to show up. And Brian's right. This case has already been decided through summary judgment. So now they're just going over what the damages are going to be. Like, they're having a trial about damages. Mm-hmm. So it's already been decided. He's a fraud. So
he's a fraud. Yeah. I mean, he's already guilty of being a fraud.
Yeah, he's a fraud.
He's guilty of sexually assaulting somebody.
Yeah, he's a rapist.
But he was in a press conference today, and he said, "Oh, I wish I was in Iowa right now, but I'm stuck here." And but he had a couple press conferences. He lost his mind like normal. But here's him coming out. What clip is this? I can't remember. All right, let's look at the clip, and then we'll talk about it. But I know there's something to talk about.
This trial is a total witch hunt, and I should be entitled to a jury like everybody else is entitled to a jury. I have no rights to have a jury. It's ridiculous. Thank you very much.
You see his attorney's look in the background there?
Yeah.
I just want to rewind this a little bit. And you can see, is it Elena Haba? Is that what her name is?
Yeah.
Well,
Haba put on a show yesterday.
Did she?
Yeah, she fought for Donald Trump because he was getting pissed off about what he was hearing. So when, she got up there, she had to lie and say he did nothing wrong, and his buildings are worth blah blah blah, just relitigating something that was already decided in summary judgment. Like, girl, shut up.
Well, I mean,
but he was pissed at them because they're not fighting for him.
Well, if you saw that look on her face, she kind of had a deer in the headlights look, because it's my understanding, when I saw this in Vegas, I really couldn't believe it, and I didn't really read too much about it, but there is a opportunity for Donald Trump to have a jury trial. So now it is a trial that is going to be decided by a judge, and Donald Trump is whining that it's not a jury trial, but it turns out they could have had one because his attorney did not check off the box to say
and how do you not? That's just what you do. Like, that is just what you do. I don't even understand that.
How she's still his attorney. And the only thing I can think of is
a complaint. That's what you do. Like, that's part of the language. It's almost like you have to take that out. I'm so confused. He didn't want one. There's no way. He must have not have wanted one in the beginning.
Maybe not in the beginning, but somebody might have gotten to him and said, you know what, the jury trial is probably better for you, because in these cases, all they need is like one of these MAGA guys to come out and say no, because it's not necessarily, you don't need a unanimous decision by the jury in this case. I heard. So if it took one person, it could have helped him out in this case. But
He's
now
in
it's
New
going to be.
York, so he probably didn't want a jury. He's probably like he was going to take his chances with a judge and not a jury that he felt like New York was going to, mess him over.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe was he hoping to get a Trump appointed judge
Right.
assigned to the
With
case?
Eileen Cannon.
Right. Yeah. So I don't really understand what happened there. It sounds, like somebody definitely dropped the ball.
Or he's lying.
Or
right?
he's lying.
You can't even believe that he didn't know. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Because if they drop the ball, why are they still there? Like, I don't know. I don't believe him. I just don't.
That's true too. I mean, there's every time he talks, there's
Yeah.
a possibility he is not telling the truth. Because you would think that that's a fireable offense. You don't keep
Yeah.
your attorney around that misses something that simple.
That simple. He did not. I don't think he probably did not want a New York jury. He probably wanted to take a shot with the judge, and then maybe he changed his mind. It was too late because they're taking the brunt of that. They're getting hit with that, and they're just not saying anything because he's lying.
Or the very simple fact that Donald Trump sees her, he thinks she's attractive and doesn't want to fire her because of that. That may be the only other reason.
That could be. I'm sure he does.
Here is this dipshit outside the courtroom again, rambling about God knows what. Let's listen to this and we'll talk about it.
This is election interference. They made up a fake case. They're fraudulent people. And the judge already knows what he's going to do. He's a Democrat judge. In all fairness to him, he has no choice. He has no choice. He's run by the Democrats. I know this city better than anybody knows it.
Tell you, the Democrats must be the most powerful people in the entire world. They can change elections.
Yeah.
They can have people murdered without getting arrested. They can make up charges that don't exist and get you prosecuted.
Only Republicans get arrested, apparently, because I mean, Menendez, I don't know, maybe that's an outlier. Like, come on. It's just...
Yeah. And, the Menendez thing is the Democrats saying the right thing. He should leave. This guy saying, fuck you, I'm not leaving. And at the end of the day, there's been a precedent set. So this guy's saying, I still want my trial. I want to go through my trial. And I'm certainly not defending him. He probably should step aside. But at the same time, you know what? Fuck you. I mean, you know what? You want me to leave? You didn't leave. So why should I leave? And that's the tone that has been set now.
Right.
And I don't think either one of it's right. But that's the fucking tone that's been set by these morons.
Yeah.
So, all right, so the powerful Democrats are at it again. Let's finish listening to this idiot.
There's nobody knows it like I do. He's a Democrat judge out of the clubhouses. He's controlled, and it's a shame. What's going on here is a shame. Our whole system is corrupt. This is corrupt. Atlanta is corrupt. And what's coming out of D.C. is corrupt.
So everything's corrupt, and Donald Trump has never done anything wrong in his entire life.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
these things are just not true, I guess.
Well, I'm sure plenty of MAGAs are out there praying for him, and I'm sure Jesus is listening because one of his favorite sons cannot be persecuted in this manner. And what the hell's going on in this country? I have no idea.
Well, something did happen today, so that's a good thing because he did get that gag order put on him.
That I heard, which is obviously a good thing. I think would he make a post or something on?
While he's in the courtroom, so maybe somebody did it for him. While he's in the courtroom, with the clerk, the judge's clerk is there, and he made a post about the judge's clerk being like some Democrat, whatever, and she's Schumer's girlfriend.
Right,
and
yeah.
Here's her Instagram link, and here's her phone number.
And then he was forced to take it down, correct? Yeah.
He's a pig. Like, he's just a pig. He's just a pig. And there's so many things. I'm sorry. Like, it's hard for the Democrats to focus on one thing and hammer it because he's just a dirty, gross human. So you can't even focus on one of the things because it's like, we should focus on what he's saying about the military so they won't vote for him. Like, y'all should have already known that he didn't give a fuck about the military when he was fighting with the Gold Star family, or when he called Sergeant LaDavid Johnson's widow and didn't even know his name.
Yeah.
And then said, what did he say? Like he knew what he was getting into.
That's correct.
Like,
yeah.
And they still voted for this man and act like he didn't say it. So now here is Mark Milley,
Mark Milley, yeah.
Mark Milley and Kelly co-signing it. And I don't like Kelly because all the shit was going on and Kelly was silent. So
well, that's the only criticism there. And, there is a case to be made, and I've heard it before. They were saying, if you have somebody that is finally coming out against Donald Trump, it's at least better than never doing it at all. But you're right. I mean, during a time where he was concerned about this country and the direction that it was going, he worked for Donald Trump. He was close to Donald Trump, knew this guy every single day, knew what a danger he was, and now is waiting. I don't know. Does he have a book coming out or something? Is that what's going on? I don't know. But even if he wasn't, I agree. It's one of those things. It's like, dude, I mean, you're a top military man. You're scared of nothing.
Right.
So at that time, probably would have been the better time to do it. But, at the end of the day, Joe Biden still won the election. And, I really hope that the people of the military finally see this, because it started with the disgusting comments about John McCain.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, and that was all the military people said, we're still voting for this guy. He's unbelievable.
How like he said that about John McCain?
Yeah. Yeah.
He fought with a Gold Star family.
Yeah. And by the way, I have no reason to believe that anybody that is talking about these things are making it up. So I know we're getting.
He's not denying it, right?
Huh? No. No. Well, he would, because he's a liar, and he would deny it. But anyway, we are getting close to where we need to go. I do want to play this clip. Miss Letitia James had a little press conference of her own today, and she is done with the shit. And this is what she had to say.
Comments were offensive. They were baseless. They were void of any facts and/or any evidence. What they were comments that unfortunately fomented violence, and comments that I would describe as race baiting, and comments, unfortunately, that appeals to the bottom of our humanity. This case was brought simply because it was a case where individuals have engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And I will not sit idly by and allow anyone to subvert the law. And lastly, I will not be bullied. And so Mr. Trump is no longer here. The Donald Trump show is over. This was nothing more than a political stunt.
Now, Donald fucked with the wrong woman. And that's exactly what you got to do. You got to punch this bully right back in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you do. Because that's why he's there. And what is so funny, I often wonder if that was Jack Smith's case right there in New York. Like Donald Trump would not be there for 2 days. He's doing that. That's a black woman. Like people are saying, it's his money. I'm like, I don't know. I think he's trying to intimidate the black woman because he doesn't respect her. Like she's black and she's a woman. So he really don't give a hoot about her. He stared her down too. He wouldn't do that with Jack Smith. He's afraid of Jack Smith. Well,
apparently he hovered over her a couple days ago, and was behind her and hovered over her, and she just laughed off the incident. But it's similar to what he did to Hillary when they were debating on the stage. Just stood right behind her like he was going to intimidate her. And again, Hillary's not intimidated by that clown. Now, back then, again, people really didn't know how to handle Donald Trump the right way. I mean, right now it'd be a whole different story if you tried that shit with Hillary. Hillary was in the position of, like most women, you can't yell, you can't do that, you can't show out, you got to be calm, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I know I'm sure as a Black woman have experienced that feeling too, where they make you think that if you do that, she's
the
just
angry Black, you're the angry,
yeah. So, you know what? And now it's at the point where it's like, you know what? Fuck you and fuck anybody that thinks any of that shit. We're going to react the same fucking way you would react if you did that to me, regardless. So, all right. So I know we're getting close here. I have a couple of more clips.
Let's go.
And you sent me one that has given us hope. Gen Z is, I think, really going to be at least one of the groups that is going to help save this country. I'm certainly not one of those. Well, first I want to play this clip by this kid. He's a 17-year-old kid, and he testified, or not testified, he got up in front of it appears to be the city council, and had this to say in front of the lawmakers there.
I'm a senior in high school, and I come to you today from North Mecklenburg County, Huntersville to be specific. And I'm here today to convey a very, very simple message. I'm 17. I should be spending my Wednesday afternoons with friends or family, but instead I'm here with y'all. I'm here because every single day I have to worry about which liberties Republican legislators are going to choose to gut next. They started by refusing to take action against gun violence and destroyed your right to peace of mind about something as simple as sending your child to school. Then they came for your right to make the most basic reproductive health care decisions that were right for you and your family. This time, they're coming for every North Carolinian's right to fair representation. This legislature is made up of the same people who have drawn maps that intentionally disenfranchise and limit the power of historically marginalized and minority voters. These are the same people who have proven to us time and time again through their voting record that they don't care. If these people cannot be trusted to protect our most basic rights, how can we trust them to draw fair and impartial maps that will promote a healthy and vibrant democracy? They can't. We can't trust them. The Republicans in this committee and the others in the House and Senate don't care about democracy. They don't care about fair maps. All they care about are three simple things: re-election, power, and dollar signs. This redistricting stunt is a clear power grab by Republicans in the General Assembly. So I urge you now, watch your step. Be very careful in what you choose to do, because young people like me are watching, and young people like me are fed up.
We talked about earlier, first of all, by the way, you probably could have, but at 17, there's no fucking way I would have been. This guy's talking about democracy and gerrymandered maps. I had no idea what that shit was going on back then. So very, very, very impressive by this young man. And, I'm not the old guy that gets mad at the young generation. At some point, you just got to accept that if the world is changing, this world, you can either accept it or you can stomp your feet and cross your arms like a big baby, because I guarantee you, when my dad was growing up, the world changed differently. When I was growing up, everything changed differently. And that's just going to continue to happen. So, either get on board or sit in your little corner and get angry and mad and load up your gun and act like somebody's coming to get you when they're not.
I agree. And he's in North Carolina. So you guys could ban all the books you want to ban. These kids are going to learn.
Yeah.
They're going to know. They're going to watch TikTok. They're getting the information. This kid got the information from somewhere. So you can ban all the books you want. They're getting the information. They know what you're doing. You can't hide it.
This is a kid who obviously went out of his way to educate himself.
Right.
And that's to me, again, it's a very impressive young man. All right. What time we got? 8:44. You have time for one more quick clip.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. One more quick clip. Usually, when we need some clarification on things and we need somebody to tell us who to vote for, who not to vote for, we listen to very, astute, but this may be the most astute man of all time. Let's listen to
I just want to say this real quick, man, on the political shit. Ain't no fucking way in the world y'all can vote for Donald Trump when he come back up again. If y'all do vote for him, y'all some stupid motherfuckers. I'm saying that to y'all. And this punk motherfucker don't care. Don't vote for that nigga. Please don't. Look what he do. He just don't give a fuck. Y'all honest, blue-collar, hard-working people and suffering. So if he don't care about y'all, he really don't give a fuck about us. So fuck him too. And fuck everybody down with Donald Trump. I said a year, Snoop Dogg. Fuck him.
That's
right.
Snoop Dogg, one of the coolest
That's
people
right.
on the planet.
That's right.
Him, Eminem.
Occupy Democrat, shout out.
yeah, no question. So I had to play Snoop because anytime, there's a lot of times where I hear people say to me, you know what I'm saying? And most of the time, probably because I'm maybe older, or I don't know what they're saying. But when Snoop says it, I always know what he's saying for something. Always when Snoop says it. I love Snoop. So, okay, we're going to wrap up. Are you doing your show tomorrow?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know.
We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to sit in front of the computer tomorrow between 8 and 8:15. If Lana comes on the Quest Show, you can join her live. But
watch my interview from last week with Tanya Fernandez Anderson.
Yes, and also not just that clip, but watch all the clips if you haven't watched them. So join her on the Quest Show. You can download this also too as a podcast. You can email me if you want to with any questions at runshousepodcast@gmail.com. Anything else you want to add, Lana? She's got to go.
Yeah, have a good weekend, everyone. Be safe out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great weekend. And Lana, we'll see you again next week.
Bye, Brian.
Bye. Have a great night.
Bye-bye. You too.